Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Irish Wish. Irish Wish is an American romantic comedy that tells the story of Madeline Kelly, an aspiring author who keeps shafting her dreams to the wayside to maintain the success of another writer, Paul Kennedy, who she has a secret crush on. Everything starts to unravel for her once she accidentally introduces her friend to Paul, resulting in the two eventually getting engaged. With the wedding set to take place in Paul's home country of Ireland, Madeline flies over to help out with things, albeit while still being miserable. However, she stumbles upon a magic stone that grants her a wish, which results in her becoming Paul's bride, and thus her love life takes lots of twists and turns. It's crazy how many rom-coms there are of female writers or entrepreneurs going on journeys of self-discovery and falling in love in the process, and nearly all of them are mediocre. This one is no exception, though it does win some points for the use of its setting and Lindsay Lohan's screen presence. It's always nice to see Lohan getting more screen time these days, though I wish she would take more meaningful roles. Her character Madeline is the same wayward woman like countless other Hallmark Channel movies out there, trying to chase after what she wants and yet not having the courage to get it. Not bad, but not great either. In fairness, the movie does actually show her struggling to write her story while being forced to do Paul's work, so she is sympathetic in this way, as well as her wanting a loving partner and yet not capitalizing on the opportunity. She has this sense of fear that makes her more relatable and thus more likable. It's just that because there are so many similar roles like hers out there, it's ultimately forgettable. Credit where it's due though, I thought the movie would hinge a lot of focus on just her crush Paul, but it actually does a good job balancing between him and this other guy named James. His witty personality and sly mannerisms inject a lot of character into the movie, and he has good banter between him and Madeline that makes the relationship more believable as it progresses. He also has the same sort of dream-chasing aspect that Madeline does, though in a different form. He's an aspiring wildlife photographer who's forced to work as her wedding photographer for the sake of money, and it's interesting to see how he navigates these frustrations. Again, his character isn't overly complex, but at least he's fun to watch. The movie's romance is saved from complete lack of memorability thanks to the central gimmick involving Madeline's wish. Madeline is essentially thrust into a timeline that she has no familiarity with, and it's enjoyable enough to see how she adjusts to everything going on. This means the romance doesn't come off as another case of girl meets boy in a foreign setting, at least not 100% anyway. Her dynamic with Paul becomes a lot more intriguing as she finally has what she wants, yet still feels empty and feels like nothing's changed, which adds a realistic element to the romance that again makes her character more relatable. However, the movie's romance isn't exactly the best either. Over time, it becomes less of Madeline trying to take control of her life again, and more of a bog-standard love triangle between her, James, and Paul, and it doesn't even fully commit to this until closer toward the end of the story. Madeline and Paul obviously lack chemistry, Madeline and James go back and forth in terms of character development, and Paul and James barely interact with each other at all. There's just not much conflict or drama involved between all three of these people to bother getting all that invested in what happens. In fact, most of the characters in general are pretty bland. Madeline's friends don't do much even when they're with Madeline, and Paul's aristocratic family are just that. Boring, snooty aristocrats. They're all the same cookie-cutter, sanitized brand of characters that you'd expect to see from any other made-for-TV movie. I will say, though, that I enjoy Jane Seymour's role as Madeline's mother. I don't know if it's because I'm not sure if she's trying to hide her British accent or not, or if it's because of how eccentric she is, but there's just something cheesy about her character in this movie that I really enjoyed. If there's one thing the movie definitely nailed, it's the way it takes advantage of its setting. Having been to Ireland myself, I was looking forward to seeing how the culture would be represented, and man does it ever deliver. The cinematography of the Irish countryside and villages are jaw-dropping to look at, and the Celtic music adds a lighthearted energy to the story, which fits well with the romantic vibe its story is meant to portray. Even the little things like Paul's family mansion and the pubs have beautiful production design behind them and all feel authentically Irish. Some parts of it do feel stereotypical in that sense, like how Madeline goes to dance at a pub to get out of her comfort zone, but that's part of the charm behind her trying to find herself again. And in the end, it's still fun. Way more fun than just non-stop walk and talks anyway. This being said, the charm does wear off a bit from some of the comedy this movie tries to pull off. I know it's a rom-com and it's supposed to be light and breezy in nature, but most of the jokes in this movie were little more than weak slapstick and awkward situations. There's a few amusing misunderstandings involving Madeline's wish and how she has no idea what's going on, but it just doesn't pull this off as well as it could have. Some of the reactions characters have toward Madeline not knowing things she should really know in the wish timeline were really odd, It's like, how are they just laughing and shrugging off what they should be seeing as amnesia, on the eve of her wedding no less? And like I said before, when you get right down to it, it's just another female empowerment story about a woman having to follow her heart and stay true to herself. There's worse ways the story could have been told, but it also could have been done a lot better. Overall, Irish Wish is a bland rom-com that's harmless enough to watch, but it doesn't take any risks and thus fails to stand out. If you like easygoing rom-coms and don't want to think too much about the story and characters, you might enjoy checking this out. If it weren't for its lead actress and the excellent use of its Irish setting, this movie wouldn't be worth talking about at length. For the average person who just wants something simple in scope to watch, it does get the job done, but for me personally, it leaves me wishing for something more. What did you think about this movie? Did you also think it was average, or do you enjoy watching these kinds of movies? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Irish Wish. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American anthology film, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, and 3 more. Bye bye!